this group, and today, in the last week, since in the last part, since everybody were busy and they had some errands to run, we'll recap on what we explained or tried to explain in the last bit of the last week session. So what we tried to explain is, when it comes to this reality, there are three main characteristics: Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta. So Anicca, the normal or the simple meaning of Anicca is, we cannot control the world. Meaning, we cannot control the outside world. We are unable to control our actions and our thoughts as well. So when somebody says something like that, it's very hard to understand initially, because we think that we can control ourselves. We think that we are the ones who take decisions what to think and what to not think. And we think that we are the ones who change our postures or move our limbs. We think that we are the ones who put out these words from using our bodily actions or using our facial muscles. So that's what we think. And all the time, the evidence also that are taken from eyes or the five senses also backs it up. So if we think of what our eyes gives as evidence, what our ears and nose, tongue and body gives as evidence, it pretty much coincides with what we think, that we are able to control this world. And when it comes to Dhamma, it says that even though it is seemed or it is shown as such by our five senses, it's not the case. We have to understand it through wisdom by keeping aside all the five senses and think critically using the preachings of Dhamma. So let's take an example. I think we went through this example a little bit in the last week, but we could not fully go into the depth of it and understand fully what it means. So we know about the outside world. So there are people who we like, people who we do not like. There are things that we like and things that we don't like. If we think about why we are liking them and why we are not liking them, there's a factor that helps us decide whether we like it or whether we do not like it. Let's say we have two children. One is good. One listens to us. The first one listens to us, doesn't do things that we don't like. If we ask something, we ask, this needs to be done, it or he or she does it right away without making a big problem out of it. So the other one, the second child, is not like that. The second child does not listen to us, does the opposite of what we ask to do, and it's always a problem when it comes to the second one. A parent would say that they'd like the both of them equally, but in reality, you know that when you see the first one, you like, you have grown a likeness towards the first one. Both of them are biologically children born to you. So there's no different in that aspect. So what is different here is one listens and one does not listen. So when one listens, we tend to think that this one is in my control. And when someone does not listen, we think this one is out of control. But the thing is, we think we can get this second child who is out of control to our control by changing small factors, by being rough on that person, by scolding, hitting, or doing whatever the thing that is needed, that you think that is needed to get the control of that person. So why that second person does not listen? Because I am being easy on him or her. She or he does not listen to me. So it's my problem. It's because of my actions only, this person does not listen to me. First one listens to me, and because of that, considering that factor, we like that first child. And relatively, we do not like the second one. So it's like that for things as well. So you have two vehicles. So the first one is, it does not break. It's new. And basically, it's on it. You think that it's on it. You can control it, or it listens to you. But there's a second vehicle which always breaks at the most important time, which always gives you a headache when it comes to repairs and everything. And you don't like that vehicle when comparing to the first one. If it's the same brand, if it's the same price, if it's the same everything, and the only factor that is different is this, then the likeness comes to the first one, or we like the first one, but we do not like the second one that much. So That's what happens when something is in our control, that when we think that something is in our control. So that's why we like our body more than anything in the world, because we think it is in our control. I think we can raise our hand whenever we want. We can talk anything whenever we want. We can go here and there. So we think that our body is according to our control, according to our will, expectation. So let's say somebody had a disease, and according to this disease, however much you try to raise your hand or to raise your right hand, what is being raised is the left hand. So the opposite is always the opposite is being done. So what you don't want happens all the time when it comes to the control of the body. If something like that happens, that person will start to hate his body. He or she will want the control, and he or she will think that I want a body like the other person, other people, a body that can be controlled by my own thoughts. So that's what the person would think. So it's very rare to have such a disease. Almost everyone's experience is our body works according to our will, expectation. From the days that you can remember, from the days that you are a small child, a baby, you remember that using your legs and all the four limbs, all the upper limbs and lower limbs, and as well as all the muscles to control your body according to your need. So more than anything in the world, since it is more controllable than the outside world, it is more controllable than your child, it is more controllable than your whatever the things you have, belongings you have. So you like your body more than these things, more than the outside things. When it comes to your mind, the illusion is more. So you think it's 100% controllable when it comes to your mind. So think whatever you want to, and you do not think whatever you don't want to think. My mind is mine to control. If somebody else is controlling it, or you feel like somebody has taken the control of your mind, then you will think that originally it's actually according to it works according to my will, my expectation, my need. But someone or something has taken the control of it out of me or something. So when it comes to mind, the illusion is very hard to understand. There's a very thick illusion there. We think that mind is ours and it is ours to control. But when it comes to Dhamma or the Anicca, Sabbe Sankara Anicchati. So every action is that it doesn't occur because we have an expectation over it, or we have a willpower. It happens because all the causes align so that an effect is generated. If every cause of all the causes align, then we can see an effect. That is called cause and effect theory. So if it is not according to our will, then what is it according to? Someone might ask. The answer for that question is, it is according to causes and effects. So if all the causes align, then an effect will emanate. If all the causes do not align, then an effect won't be seen, will not emanate. So that's the basic idea. So let us try to explain this with an example. I'll take the example we took last time. So let's say someone is trying to switch on a light bulb. So the expectation is to brighten the room. We have a dark room, unlit bulb, and there's a switch in the corner of the room, which is turned off. So the normal person would think, I'll turn it on, and we'll went to the switch right away and we'll turn it on. And the bulb will turn up and the room will be brightened. What if all the causes did not align? What if there's a power cut? Then that person's expectation would not meet the reality. There will be a difference. So the expectation is to brighten up the room, but in this scenario, so if we, at one instance, if we turns it on, and when all the forces aligns, the bulb lights up. The other instance, there's no power, so the bulb does not light up. So in the first instance, our expectation is to have a brightened room. In the second instance also, our expectation is to have a brightened room. So in the first one and in the second one, even if all the causes are kept, equal, and only difference is in one instance, in the first scenario, we do not have expectation. The second instance, we have expectation to turn the light bulb on, regardless of having expectation. Since all the causes are being aligned, the bulb will light up. So, when we know the cause and effect theory, the theory says if all the causes align, then the effect will take place, or effect will occur. If even one cause does not align, then the effect won't occur. So, in this experiment, in this control experiment, in one instance, we had expectation, and in the other, we did not have expectation. Since the outcome was equal, in both instances, we got a lighted room, regardless of having expectation or not. So we see that for this system to work, we do not want expectation. Whether we have it or whether we do not have it, whether we think that the bulb will light up or whether we do not think whether the bulb will light up, that is irrelevant. Bulb will anyway light up if all the causes align. So, with that being said, what if the power cut, there's a power cut? Even if, let's say, in the both instances, there's a power cut, and we have expectation to turn the light bulb on. And in the second instance also, we have expectation to turn the light bulb on. But in the both scenarios, there's no power. So when there's expectation and we turn the light on, as there's no power, no light. In the second instance, we have expectation to turn the bulb on, and there's no power, so no light. So in the first instance, we had expectation. Since there's no light, there's a disappointment in us. And in the second instance, we did not have expectation, and there's no light as well, there's no current as well, so there's no disappointment, since we did not have an expectation. So expectation creates another effect. The effect of expectation is disappointment, because expectation is not a cause that creates the effect. So even if we put it or even if we remove it, it doesn't matter. If all the causes align, then the effect will take place. But when there's expectation, when expectation when it is added to the equation, it becomes a cause for suffering, disappointment. And it does nothing other than that. Let's say we want to turn on the bulb, and we thought, whatever happens, we do not care whether the bulb is turned on or not. I'll just turn it on without the expectation of it being turned on. Let's say there's a power cut at that moment and the bulb did not light up. Since we had no expectation, there's no disappointment. And in the first one, and in the next scenario, let's say the person had an expectation to turn the light on, and there was a power cut in that instance as well, and there's no light. Since he had an expectation, he will end up in disappointment and that sorrow or that suffering. So suffering is the result of expectation. The suffering we create with our actions. That's unnecessary suffering. So this is an example of understanding that our expectation is not something that is needed for the effect to occur. So it is like that for the outside world. So everything outside our body. But when it comes to our body, there are also systems that are made of thousands of causes. Let's say we want to raise our hand, raise our arm. So there's a musculoskeletal system, a nervous system, and all the systems should integrate together, synchronize together very well for that action to be executed. So let's put expectation also to the equation. And in one instance, you want to raise your hand. Your expectation is to raise your hand. In the other instance, your expectation is to not to raise your hand. Regardless of whether you want to raise your hand or whether you don't want to raise your hand, if you put effort and if all the causes that are needed for the arm to be raised is aligned, the arm will raise. Even if you like it or even if you don't like it. And it's vice versa as well. If all the things or the causes did not align together, let's say we injured a nerve that supplies to that area, muscles of that area. So now you cannot raise your arm. Even if you have expectation, or even if you do not have expectation, regardless of your expectation, however much you put effort, your arm would not raise. So we can, in this instance also, we can take expectation out of the picture because it's not something that does anything actually. It's the other things that controls the other causes, that controls our body. If we want to raise our hand, having expectation or not having expectation is not one of the causes that decides the outcome. So you have to think with your wisdom here. It's very hard to understand this when it comes to our body. But if you think critically, thinking about the causes actually, and how expectation can be removed from the picture and still it works, then you will get a good idea that this expectation is what creates suffering, not the outcome of the action or the system. So that's why when it comes to Arihats, since there's no expectation, not that they do not do anything, they do pindapata, look for food, they discourse, they do sermons, they do good to the worldly beings, they show the path that they went and help the other sentient beings to become arihats. So they do all that, but since there's no expectation, there's no disappointment, there's no sorrow at the end of the day, there's no pleasure as well. If there's darkness, there's light. If there's up, there's down. So if there's pleasure, then you will automatically get the opposite of that as well. So the bliss or the pleasure, when it comes to Dhamma, is said to be not having sorrow is the pleasure. It's something you experience through your wisdom, not with your feelings. So when it comes to Dhamma, it says Nibbana is the supreme bliss. So we call supreme bliss of Nibbana. How can someone experience a supreme bliss if there's no pleasure? Pleasure in the sense, something that is grasped by your five senses. So this bliss is not something that is grasped by five senses. Let's say you are suffering because of a headache. So you took medicine and the headache is gone now. Now you don't have a headache. And you say, I feel relieved. I feel happy. Why? Because now the headache is gone. Did you receive some pleasure here? Have you experienced some blissful sensation, a sensation, a touch, or anything through your five senses? Nothing. It's just the headache is gone and the thought that you got rid of the suffering is blissful. That is what is blissful here. So when it comes to Nibbana also, it's a pleasure or a bliss like that. When you don't have this expectation, you have no fear, and you will not subjected to disappointment. When that is gone, that's a bliss, because now you have zero suffering. Just like when the headache was gone, you felt good. You feel good when the headache of samsara is gone. So that's for the body. So bodily actions also works fine without our expectation. But the thing is, when it comes to sentient beings, they always have an expectation. So you cannot experience it fully. You can understand the theory, you can understand the idea behind it, Dhamma behind it, but you cannot experience it until the Arihat state. You can experience it into some levels at some points, but 100% you cannot experience it because you have expectation added or attached to your daily activities. So when that is gone, fully gone, then is the time you fully comprehend that Anicca as Anicca. Then you will fully understand that Anicca as Anicca, because Anicca means according to your will. You can control this world according to your will. That is nature. Anicca means the opposite of that. So a person who has understood Anicca 100% is Arihat. Only an Arihat can understand it, is able to understand it fully. Others understand it to a certain extent. They can't understand it fully. That's why they are still practicing the pathway. But everybody who have become Aryans can understand the theory behind it. So you would now know that this world, outside world, cannot be controlled according to your will, and your body also cannot be controlled according to your will. You cannot talk like this, you cannot walk like that, or move your limbs according to your expectation. It happens because all the causes align. Since all the causes align and your expectation happens to be the same, you think, you get tricked that I did what I wanted. It is not that. It's not because you got what you wanted. It's because all the causes got aligned and effect occurred, and that effect was what you wanted. So what you wanted, you thought that you got what you wanted. So when it comes to thoughts, this becomes more trickier. Since we cannot find our mind in a physical component, or it's very hard to identify a physical component attached with our mind. Cannot see some, we cannot touch, we cannot feel the mind. So the examples also that should be taken here to explain this is very sophisticated. So let's say there's a very easy example as well. So let's say if your mind is according to your expectation or will, you can do a very simple experiment. Think about something. Think about your phone for 5 minutes. Straight up 5 minutes. You cannot think anything else. You just have to think about your phone. This is what we do in normal lay meditation. Not RM meditation, but normal concentration meditation. So why people tend to spend hours and hours doing these kinds of meditation if the mind is according to your will, according to your control? If you could control your mind, why do you cry when you go to a funeral of a loved one? Why do you become angry when clearly you thought that you won't get angry? Oh, I will control myself if something pop up that triggers me up. But you can't. At those instances, you automatically become angry, you automatically become emotional, and you start to cry. You want to tell lies without being caught, but still, your mind cannot act according to what you planned. But for most of the part, you think that your mind is according to your will. You can control your ideas. You can control what you think. It's the nature of the mind. It is how all the causes get aligned. Gives that illusion that you can think what you want. But not always. Let's say in intense moments like death of a loved one, or an instance like that. So if you try to do a math paper, or if you try to add up to numbers, even they are even the task is very easy on a normal day, you would find it very difficult when in an extreme situation like that. Even you might not be able to add 1 plus 1, give that answer. So if only all the causes align, then you can get the effect. Then you will say without hesitation, that's 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. But if someone is trying to cut your throat, then still you won't be able to answer that even. Not because it's because you cannot gain control of your mind, though you think you can. So this mind is a very fascinating organ. Cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be touched. Still it is created from causes. When all the causes align, the mind emanates. And in the last week's sermon, we discussed that the mind is something that occurs at the moment, then and there. And it dies. When the effect dies, when the causes die, creating the effect cannot last, it also dies, allowing another thought to emanate, or a mind to emanate. So I think you might have listened to the last week's sermon, otherwise it might not be clear here. So when it's the case, so that's why even if you try to understand a person, you cannot. You think that you understand this person, but that person is something that lasted for a very minute time. The chain of reactions, you can see the chain. You can see how it changes from moment to moment. At one moment, all the causes creates one result number one. And in the next instance, that get destroyed since the causes are not there. And in the next instance, the relevant causes creates another result number two. Result number one and result number two are not the same. Person number one and person number two are not the same, but they seem pretty alike because all the causes that created them are almost similar, but not the same thing. So that's what we explained in the last week's sermon, taking a oil lamp into as an example. So when the mind is also like that, so you cannot, how can you keep something according to your control? So that becomes another problem here. Now you know that your mind cannot be kept in control, as well as your body, as well as the outside world. So you might think, you have to now consider who is going to keep what in control. So if it lasts for a moment, let's say person number one is a result of causes. So the causes at that moment created person number one. Since all the causes are used to create this effect, the causes get used. So there are no causes. So when there are no causes, the effect cannot last. So it also ends up in destruction, leaving room for another effect to occur. So the second set of causes creates the next effect, which is person number two. So now the person number one and person number two are not the same. They are like twins. So you do not call twins the same person. Though they look alike, it's not the same person. So just like that, these are twins in a timeline. So one twin occurred and died, then the next twin occurred, came to life, and then end up in death, and this goes on for our whole lifetime. So if we are going to talk about someone who has control, there needs to be a person that lasts for a certain period of time, so that we can refer to that person and say the world is according to his control or not according to his or her control. So when we think about it, the person one lasted only for a moment, and then the person two, which is not person one, but they are alike but not the same person, is now there. So, which person are we referring to when we are saying the world is in control or not in control? Since there's no person throughout the course of time, throughout this idea of time, since it is a cause and effect cycle, one after another, creating clones of very alike human images. So when that's gone, when that's the case, we cannot talk about a person who has control. So when you understand it, you will understand that what we do and what we think are out of our control. That's why you always become unhappy, disappointed, and end up in suffering, because we do not know this. So if you try to understand it 100% to the extent of a Arihat, then if you reach that state, of course, you can reach it now as well, if all the causes align, of course. If that happens, then you will understand it fully. Otherwise, you will understand the concept, and your feeling will always say, no, it's otherwise. But your wisdom will say, but there's a truth in this. So you have to do vipassana or meditation. Then only you will pick up the fine details of it and understand that, yes, there's a 100% truth here. And when I start to feel that way, you will not try to own your body, try to own your mind. You will get rid of the ownership. At the end, when you become an Arihat, that's what happens. You're no longer an owner. So that's why we have heard stories that Arihat would not even flinch when someone is trying to stab him. Why? We do not feel like flinching when the person next to us is being threatened with a knife. But we feel like that when it happens to us. Why? Because we have ownership about our body and mind. There's nothing wrong in that. The only problem is then you are subjected to suffering. Think that if even at gunpoint, even if the person is threatened to be killed, that person can stay calm without any problem, like it wasn't his body and mind. Think about that scenario and think about how relaxed or how calm and how blissful that person would be, even in the most stressful situation in his entire life. He doesn't even break a sweat. So that's why when you fully understand the concept, so you will understand, you will try to, or you will start to understand it from the outside objects. So you will experiment with the outside objects and see, and your body reactions, and you will see that no, they are not according to my control. However, the more intense my expectation is, more disappointed I would be when all the causes are not aligned. More disappointed I would be when the things doesn't go according to my expectation. So that would be the problem. So until that disappointment, you will be in fear. Until that disappointment hits, or until when the effect does not occur, or when all the causes do not align, doesn't get aligned, then the person would be until that point, the person would be in fear. So let's say, for example, there's a person needs to raise his hand. Otherwise, so he has met with an accident, and now he's having a plaster, hard plaster. So the doctor says, I'll remove this plaster today, and if you are able to raise your hand, then we don't have a problem. You can continue to use your hand without any problem. But if you cannot raise your hand for some reason, then there's a big problem. You might not be able to use your hand anymore in this lifetime or something. Let's say there's a scenario like that. So this person who met with an accident, before the accident, he didn't have a problem raising his hand. There's no issue in that. So today, also, what he's going to do is he's going to just raise his hand, just like he did all through the past. But now, when there's a problem like that, if you are able to raise your hand, then you are okay, and if you don't, then there's a problem. When something like that is being told, now the expectation always here is to raise the hand, because it's what the person wants. So with that, since the expectation is very high and very intense, that's why I took a example, a very extreme example like that. Otherwise, it's very hard to show this fear, because it's very hidden. It's there in all the actions we do, but it's hidden. When it comes to extreme point, only it's very well shown. So when the person is put to a scenario or in a place like that, put in a place like that, so that person thinks, or always thinks, oh God, please don't make a problem. Help to raise my hand or something. That person will, because he or she is doing it because of fear of not being able to raise his or her hand. So let's say it ended up in negative results, or he could not raise the hand. Then comes the sorrow, pain. But before that also, there was fear. In Buddhist teachings, it says that there's nothing more sorrowful than fear. So here, that person, the moment he was given an excuse or he was given a reason to create an expectation, an intense one, then the person becomes very fearful for the result. If that happens, then the fear is being released. Say the person could raise his hand, then the fear is being released. And you perceive it as extreme happiness. So not that a happiness or a pleasure was generated out of nowhere. It was the releasing of fear. So, does it worth it? That kind of a pleasure is not worth it. It's like hitting on your head with a baseball bat and rubbing to feel pleasure or feel blissful. Now, if you stroke a normal person's head, he will feel touched. If you stroke a person who has been hit with a baseball bat, then that person will feel blissful sensation. The sensation is altered because now he is in pain, and when we all have that experience, when someone is in pain, when you stroke that person's head, then that person will feel blissful. But if that person was asked whether that person liked this blissful sensation, he would say yes. Do you like to have this again and again? If the person says yes, then we have to hit him with another baseball bat, so that now he is in pain again, and we can stroke his head so that he can feel bliss again. So it's something like that. When it comes to fear and releasing of fear, creating blissful sensation. So the take-home message is, when you get attached, when you have so much expectation in things, what it creates is agony or suffering. So it says the Chaturarya Satya, or Four Noble Truths. When it comes to Four Noble Truths, it says Dukkha, Dukkhāre Satya, Dukkha Samudayāre Satya, Dukkha Nirodhāre Satya, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipadāre Satya. So these are Pali terms. Dukkkhāre Satya means the real suffering, or the truth about suffering. Then the second one is the reason for suffering. Truth about the reason of suffering. Truth about getting rid of the suffering and the pathway to that. Those are the four components. So it says in the second one, the truth about the reason of suffering. The truth about the reason of suffering is the attachment. So the attachment is what creates suffering. So this is not the suffering, the bodily pains that you encounter when something is collided with you, or physical pain. We are talking about the suffering created out of ignorance, created out of expectation. So this can be removed without without spending a penny, without doing any hard work. You just have to let go of attachments. So when you are getting rid of attachments, what you are doing is you are getting rid of expectation. When you have expectations, only you get attached to things because you expect that something good will happen out of that thing. So you get attached to it. So when you are getting rid of attachments, so it says that the truth about the reason of suffering is attachment. So when the reason is gone or the cause is gone, then the effect, which is suffering, does not emanate. So it's very simple. The truth about the reason of suffering, the only reason, there's only one reason. The sole reason is attachment. So that when you get rid of that only reason, you will end up not subjected to suffering in a place that is there. There's zero suffering. When there's zero suffering, in other words, you can say that's a blissful place. That's bliss. So that's what is called Nibbana. So the message here is if you reduce the attachments, knowing that there's no value because they are out of your control, and attaching to them can create sorrow. Attaching to them can create a meaningless life. So getting rid of that removes this suffering. So when you understand that and when you practice that, you will the life would be easier, since there's now less attachments, less problems, less expectations. So that's what the sermon is about. So if you have questions, you can ask.
First and foremost, I would like to give utmost thanks to Venerable Dhammadassi Thero for that sermon and the explanation given to all of us. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With that, I would like to open the floor for questions. I'm positive there may be questions with regard to what we have either discussed today or earlier or anything else. So feel free if you have any questions, either you can type it and put it onto the chat box here, or feel free to switch on your mics and ask any of the questions to Thero. Also, I would like to say, feel free to ask any questions. You don't have to worry about whether the question is a very good one, whether is it a very deep question. You don't have to worry about the state of the question. If you have anything common, anything that you are facing, anything from the sermon, you don't have to worry about the question per se. Feel free to ask, and with that, we will be able to answer and explain. Thero, since we've received a message thanking for the sermon from one of the participants. Thero, I have a question. May I ask on behalf of the group? And if there are any further ones,
sure.
we can take from them. Thero, you mentioned that once you understand the concept, I'll break this into two parts. First is that once you understand the hidden suffering under pleasure, which we normally otherwise perceive as pleasure, you start seeing the hidden suffering, or you start seeing the truth of it, which diminishes your now expectation because you have now seen the truth, which takes away the expectation. And the full amount of seeing that would be the state of Arihat, and you will see the zero suffering or the ultimate bliss. Now, in question to that, Thero, it is correct to say, though, while you will see the 100% full scale of that bliss at the Arihat state, once you have understood or you diminish the viewpoint of the world being a one of pleasure, one of worthy, one that is good to live in, versus seeing it as Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, as you mentioned, you start to experience that bliss as you go along the way. Isn't that correct, Thero? I would like you to explain that part, because I think that's what keeps us going in the path. So if you can explain that a little bit, I think might be helpful to all of us.
Yeah, sure. That now, when we know that we cannot keep up with our expectations, what we do is we try to reduce our expectations, and in that scenario, in that action of reducing our expectations, what happens is we does not get attached to things very much. And let's say, now let's take example. If let's say there's a small girl and there's a doll in her hands. Now she likes this doll very much, and now she holds this doll very tightly because she likes it very much. So the holding tight is like the attachment to something. When you attach to something, you hold on to it very tight. So this is an analogy. So when you are very attached to this doll, and if a let's say a very strong person comes and try to grab it from that small girl, now what happens? That small girl will start crying, and she won't let go. She will hold on to it with her maximum effort. Because of that effort, what will happen is there would be wounds, or there would be injuries to her, because now she is fighting, and there would be pain due to these injuries, as well as mental pain, mental suffering due to not having the doll that she likes so much. So that would be two sufferings. And let's say another person is there, another girl, small girl, who doesn't like dolls very much. There's a doll in her hand as well. She is holding it because there's nothing, there's nowhere to keep it, or she's just holding it. And another person then comes, and a strong person comes and try to grab it. She just let go. There's no mental pain and there's no physical pain. So that's what happens when you are practicing this pathway. You will see this letting go or getting rid of attachments as the easier way. When you see that as the easier way, you will value that. You won't value the attaching part. You will value the getting rid of the attachments part. So you will like that more. So when you like that more, and when you experience that there's less problems, less suffering, less sorrow, with that method, you will start to see the good part, or the good, or the advantages of that method. So when you start to practice this pathway, what you will understand is your problems are actually what you inflicted upon yourself, not that world is or the universe is punishing you. You are punishing yourself because you are attaching to things, and the nature of the world, universe is there. The everything is, every component which we can see which we can feel, which we can smell, taste, everything. All the things that can be perceived through these five senses are Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta. So they will end up in destruction at the end. We won't be able to keep them according to our control, and because of that, and we would have to work, we would have to put effort to keep them according to our expectation, failing every time we do that. Sometimes we think we were able to, but in reality, what we discussed today, we are failing, and we are not understanding, or we are not learning from that, but we are trying harder to control it. And this trying is also very suffering, because putting effort is not easy. We work 24/7, that's not easy. So that's Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta. So when Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta hits, it's like the strong person trying to grab your doll. Anyway, that doll will be taken away at some point of your life. When that point comes, if you are not attached to them that much, it would be easier for you to let go of them, because that person will come. It's not, it's just it's about the time when he or she, when the person comes. So it happens in a very small period of time as well. But when we think about the big picture, it always happens. So we think that our body and mind can be kept without. In our youth, we thought that we can do anything. We can use our body and mind to whatever we want, but we don't know that we are getting old, and we will have to. This journey will, so at some point, this journey will end. When that point comes, if you are grabbed onto that, these things, like the small girl who has been who was attached to this small toy doll. So if that's the case, then you will end up in sorrow. So at the end, what you will get rid of is the attachment to your body and mind. That's the ultimate part, especially your mind, especially the will to live. That would go away. So that's the extreme end of it. So that's the ultimate bliss. But you will start to see you will start to understand, or you will start to see the effects of getting rid of attachments very early in the journey of Aryas. You will see that the outside items that gave you so much problems before, because you are trying to control them, because you are trying to do something you cannot do, and now you realize them, and now you give space for them to act according to their agenda or according to their causes, and you try to get a rest, and you try to remember or remind yourself the real nature or the reality of the word Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, then you will feel very relaxed. And you will compare these two. Before, I was attached to these things and my life was a misery. And now I am not so attached to them. Now it's very easier for me to continue. And you will like the second option. You will like your new life. And you will want more of it. So, these attachments will start to reduce gradually, day by day. And the person who has done it 100% is the Arihat. And the person who is in the other end is the person who just understood this. And he just has started the journey. And he will complete the journey. And every step in this journey, you will feel that your suffering reduces. And that itself is blissful. So that's the idea.
Thank you, Thero, for your kind explanation. With that, I'd like to ask whether any of the participants have any questions. You may either send it on the chat box or feel free to switch on your mics and ask. Thero, if I may, since there is a question, I think I'll try to read it out. I think we have from Kim, the question is everything, if everything is or depends on Hetupala, cause and effect, how can I make and maintain the mind or put the effort towards Nibbana? Even the mind arises from causes, and have asked, is my question wrong? Basically, the question is, if everything is Hetupala, how do we strive towards Nibbana, which is using of your, putting effort and using of your mind? Thero, over to you.
Yeah, sure. That's a very good question. And I didn't expect a question like this to come out from this sermon. But that's a very good question. So, so now the thing is, when it comes to this Hetupala or the causes and effects, so what when it comes to mind, what we expect now say let's take this example of the bulb. So there was a bulb, we wanted to turn it on. So it did not work according to our expectation, but it worked as all the causes align. So what Supreme Buddha, Supreme Lord Buddha explained or understood at the enlightenment was that he understood the pathway or the causes that should be aligned to get rid of suffering, so to attain Nibbana. So let's say he understood 8 causes. That's the fourth noble truth or the pathway to Nibbana. So Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vaca, Samma Kamman, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. So these are 8 causes. So now we know the causes. So I did not explain, I am not going to explain these 8 causes now. So we'll try to explain it in a later sermon. So there are 8 causes. So let's say for the first example, so we took so we wanted to turn on a bulb. So we need a bulb, we need electricity, we need wires, we need a main switch or something, and we need connections, the needed connections that keeps this circuit working. So if everything is there, so now we know the causes. We know that we need electricity. We know that that's a wisdom, right? So we didn't have this wisdom before. So we the expectation is anyway is a reason for suffering. Doesn't do anything. So that stands there. But when we know the causes, we know that there should be electricity. And our body and mind is a very complex mechanism where we can which is used, it can be used. So that's why until the attainment of supreme bliss of Nibbana, or until becoming an Arihat, you have to use your body and your mind. So it's like first you get rid of the bigger attachments, then you get rid of the smaller attachments until it becomes so fine to the point that all the attachments are gone, even to your body and your mind. So you cannot get rid of that mind and body in the initial stage right now and later on do the bigger ones. It's an ascending pathway. So you have to work on the it's like going up a staircase. So you cannot step on the stairs that are high up above. You just have to step on the stair that is right next to the stair that you are currently on. So that's how to go up a staircase. So it's just like that. So what you do is, when you know all the causes, so let's say in that instance there's no power, the wiring is damaged, and this does not work, then you turn it on. Let's say you did not have expectation to turn it on, whether you don't care whether it turns on or not, so you turn it on, still you put effort and turn on the switch, but light does not, but it does not work. So your wisdom comes and you think, what are the causes? You tend to go to the main electricity distribution board and check, oh, there's no current, so I have to fix that. Then you fix it. Then you check the wiring, and then you fix it. And if you do all the, or if you check, or if you align all the causes, still, then you, if you turn it on, then the bulb will work. But not because you had expectation, just because all the causes got aligned to give the effect. Just like that, now we know all the 8 causes, because Supreme Lord Buddha told us. When we try to align all the 8 causes, so we have to have expectation, some would say. Without expecting, we cannot do. Yeah, that expectation should be there to attain Nibbana, and it will give you suffering, and that suffering will someday end. So that's a good suffering. So there's a bad suffering that is eternal, that would continue to occur throughout the samsara. There's no escaping from that. But there's this suffering because of the expectation to attain Nibbana. You are aligning causes. You're thinking, and you are listening to sermons and understanding that these are the things I should do in order to get rid of attachments. And you are doing that. And when you are doing it, you will have expectations, because expectation is 100% gone when you attain the final outcome. So since you have expectation, you will feel, when will I attain this supreme bliss of Nibbana? When will that happen? And that thought would generate suffering. And that is, in Dhamma, it says that it's a good suffering, because when you have suffering, you tend to get rid of suffering, and you work more. And when you work more, you are working for a worthy cause, and you will ultimately end up in supreme bliss. and therefore that suffering is good. So that's why it says that it's called Niramisa Dukkha. Amisa, there are two types. When you are getting pain or suffering from something you are associating with, when you are associating with something, and then because as a result of that pain is the pain occurs, that's called Amisa Dukkha. So that's what happens when you are attaching to things, and then the things go out of your way, and then you become very sad. There's another type of dukkha that is called Niramisa Dukkha. This happens because you are not getting attached, associates with things. You are not getting associated with things. You are getting rid of things, and that is Nibbana. So when you are getting rid of, when you are not getting associated with things, that also can create suffering. Just like, when will I get rid of these attachments? That thought will, since you have attachments now, and you have expectation to get rid of all the attachments, that is something, that is a pain, that is a suffering that is created not because of association, but because of not association, trying to not associate with things. That's called Niramisa Dukkha, and it says that that kind of a dukkha or suffering is good for you. So I think I tried to explain it in a brief way. I don't know whether you understood it fully. If there's any more clarifications to do about that, you can ask.
Yes, feel free to, if you need further clarification, there is a message with sincere thanks for the clarification. If you any others have any questions, or you have a further question on the same or another area, please feel free to share with us.
So I have one question. Thank you, Thero, for the session. When you talk about, what was it? You talked about, one second. So you talked about moving away from attachment. If you move away from attachment, obviously the first couple of steps will be for materialistic things, possessions, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering, as you move forward through that progression towards losing attachment for other things, does the motivation for achieving success through things that you're doing, say career, does that also go away? Is that one of the goals that we're trying to achieve? Because that seems to be a conflict.
Now I have to explain or elaborate on a point here. So I think I missed that point in this discussion. So it's very good that you brought it up. So it's not about letting go physically. It's something you have, you do through in your mental construct. Let's say it's like this. So you have a vehicle, you have a car, you have a job. So let's take the car here. So you have a car and you are using it and you are attached to it. Those are two different things. When you are attached to it, the suffering automatically, the suffering part comes with attachment. But you are using it. So there are let's take two scenarios where one person is attached to the vehicle or his car, the other person is not attached to his car. So the first person is attached to his car. So he has expectations. He thinks that he can control this piece of metal according to his agenda or according to his will. So that's first person's idea. And the second person who has this the same kind of a car does not need it or doesn't use it for the first person's motives. His idea is that I use this for my comfort, not for, I know that this is something I cannot rely on. This is something that can break. This is something that that can end up in destruction, or this is something I cannot control. Someone can steal it, someone can harm it, someone can rob it. Anything can happen. It's a very what do you call, a very it's like a bottle of poison. So you do not drink a bottle of poison. So the first one has drank the bottle of poison. So when someone steals it, when someone robs it, when someone do something bad to the so-called very valuable vehicle, so what happens then? That first person will end up in very sorrowful situation. He will end up in sorrow. But second person uses it because it makes his life easy. So he's not attached. When someone steals it, when someone do something to it that you do not like, when something happens to it that you do not like, you won't be, you won't feel that kind of what do you call, agony. That you won't feel that kind of suffering, because you knew all along. You did not. You gave zero value to that. You used it because you wanted to, because it makes your life because it make your life easy. But you did not get attached to it. You used for the sake of using, not giving value to it. First one gave value to it, so he ended up in suffering. So the things that we use are meant to make our lives easy, and not the other way around. But for the first person's story, it makes made his life very complicated. Now he has to use. Now he has to look after a vehicle, not the other way around. But what should have happened is the car should have looked after his needs. But it could be done. But when you get attached to it, it becomes the other way around. You are just serving a car. You are just serving that physical item, not the other way around. So when you are not attached, when you don't care, you are using your phone just to make your life easy, and you are not get attached. You are not getting attached to it in the process. You see that these are very you just have to handle these things like you are handling poison, because when you get attached to it, that's like drinking poison. When you are not attached to it, you can use poison for some good also, for your needs, whatever the need it can be used. So the people use pesticides, weedicides, all kinds of things in agriculture. So you are not drinking it. So getting attached to things is like drinking the poison. When you are not getting attached to things, it's like and you still can use them. Not that you have to, just like we explained earlier, it's like going up a staircase. So you have to focus on the very, very big things, big attachments, very what do you call, very not on the fine ones, just the big ones at first. So when you are focusing on the big ones, you are not focusing on letting go of the physical item. You're just focusing on your mind, and you're trying to get rid of the mental construct, or mental or the attachment which happens purely mentally. So if you can get rid of that mental construct or the attachment, then no matter whether you have 10 cars in your house, no matter whether you have 1,000 acres, 10 houses, you won't care when something happens to those things. But if someone is attached to one house very much, and he has 2 houses, and now he is attached to 2, and think about 10 houses. Now he is attached to 10 houses. So there's the probability of one of these houses getting destroyed becomes higher and higher when there are more and more. So when something happens to that house, one of his houses, what happens? He will end up in agony. He will end up in sorrow. But the second person who also had 10 houses and didn't care, I just need a house to live. I just need a house so that I can make my life comfortable and easy. So he used one house, and another house got robbed or it got destructed. He doesn't have a big problem now. Not like the first one. Still, he will have a small problem or small problem depending on his attachment to that house. But when it is lesser and lesser, it would be easy. Yeah, so you have to understand there's a directly proportional association or the relationship with sorrow and attachment. When the attachment is more, sorrow is more. It's like that. So it's not the physical component that should let go. It's the mental component that should let go. That's the very important message here.
So I found myself when I've started to let go of this sort of attachment to physical things, my requirement for physical things has gone down. I don't buy things unnecessarily. I don't chase after these materialistic possessions anymore. But I'm wondering, when you talk about the step-by-step journey, after you get past this sort of losing attachment for physical things, whether it's clothes, houses, cars, whatever, what's then next on that journey? Where do we go from here? If we've gone past the attachment for physical things, then does it go for an attachment to relationships? Is it an attachment to your own desires? Where does it go from there?
Right. So at the end, the extreme end, when you become an Arihat, you just need a robe and food and a shelter and medicine if you become ill. That's the other end. So for that, you have to go past Anagami, and for that, before Anagami you have Sakadagami, and before that you have the understanding of Dhamma, which is Sotapanna. So Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arihat. Those are the 4 states you have to pass when you are attaining the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So even if you become an Anagami, you still able to lead a lay life. You don't have to become a monk. So in that sense, you are not in that area. Or when you become an Anagami, you won't be able to live with a family or have intimate relationships and such. You just you can lead a lay normal life. You will be able to do a job or earn, but you won't like that. You are not forcefully getting rid of that. You just don't want it. That's what happens, because your wisdom is so high. You don't see a point. It's like in small. When we are very small, we use sand or mud to play. So our parents, they see us playing with mud, playing with sand, and they even might join us, thinking that we need some company, we need some friends in our play. Otherwise, they do not want to, because they know that this is pointless. But the small mind thinks that this is the most precious thing in the world, playing with mud, playing with sand. So when our minds develop, initially we are not in that level. So we think that this playing with mud or playing with the using our five senses to reach out and feel the world to get pleasure is a good thing. And later, when our wisdom develops, you will not want that. You will think that I don't want this. I don't see a point. That's what you will understand. It's just like how parents see the small children who are playing with sand. So then you don't want to let go of it forcefully. You just don't want it because your wisdom has grown. So it's something like that. So initially, until you reach anagami, you're using everything. You're using your five senses to what do you call or experience this world. You're using your five senses to look for gratification, look for pleasure in this world. But you know that it's a lie. But you cannot stop it. You're just used to it. You're just addicted to it. So when you are addicted to now people who use drugs also know that there's no point. This is pointless, but they cannot stop because they are addicted to it. Just like that, the initially Sotapanna and Sakadagami both they know that this is not worth it. This is just what do you call nonsense, but they still do it because they are attached and addicted to it. When their wisdom develops, this addiction will go away and they will see the pointless nature of it and get rid of this unnecessary attachments. So initially, yeah, what you said is correct. So you are the pool of requirements. Your pool of requirements will get reduced, and you will have you will start to save money because now your pool of expectation is less, and you are not forcing it. You are just seeing now how easy that is. When you see how easy that is, and when you try to do the vipassana or vipassana meditation on how the life became easy, now you will want more and more. Then only you will very without problem. Now I don't want these kinds of things in my life because there's no need for it. You see the pointless nature. Otherwise, you are not doing it out of what do you call forcefully. You are not doing it forcefully, because when you do it forcefully, you are not reached there, but you are trying to reach somewhere that you have not reached. Now that also is trying to control. Now you are not trying to control, because trying to control or trying to think that this world is according to our expectation or control, and trying to control it creates sorrow, suffering. That's what we explain. That's what we try to explain. So there's a very fine line between this. So if you do more, you will still become unhappy. If you do less, then since you have more attachments, you will become unhappy. So you have to know the fine line. You have to travel in this pathway. That's why it's called Majjhima Patipada. So it's called the middle pathway. So it's like walking on a rope. So you have seen in circuses how people walk on ropes. So if you lean onto left side, you will fall. If you lean onto the right side, still you will fall. You have to go in perfect balance. So if then only there will be less and less problems, less and less. Then only you will feel that this is actually a blessed pathway. You will not have problems if you are not forcing it too much, and not it's a fine line between forcing it too much and not doing anything or not putting effort. So you have to put effort, but still you should not put, you should not force in a wrong way. There's a way that you can put effort in a maximized way. Yeah, there's a way like that. But getting rid of anicca or thinking that you are able to control is a now when you cross that line, now that's too much. Now you have to come back and think, understand that this is anicca. So it cannot be controlled according to my will. So what I have to do is I have to know the causes, all the causes that creates this effect, and focus on those causes. So when you focus on those causes, the causes will finally create the effect. So then that would be easy.
So going on that journey, if you're just trying to, let it happen rather than trying to actively force it, do you think that something like purpose is also then a lie in the whole thing? Personal purpose, whatever drives.
Can you elaborate on the question again?
So if we're moving away from attachment and those kind of being driven by materialistic things, I personally am driven on a sense of purpose, right? The role that I'm in now gives me a sense of purpose. But is that also then, that seems to be along the same lines as having an attachment to a possession or some sort of relationship or something? The thing that drives me is not coming from within. I'm almost addicted to that feeling of being required by an outside entity. So is that also then a lie that I'm telling myself?
Yeah. Now, when it comes to this kind of things, now you can until you that's what I told you. Until you reach the state of anagami, the path will not be affected with using five senses. So if I think if you understood this eightfold pathway, or the what you call Ariyatangika Magga. So in that, it very clearly says what is problematic for this pathway are the immoral actions. So pranagata, dattadana, kamithyachara. That means killing and hurting, and stealing, robbing, and all kinds of corruptive stuff, and having unethical relationships. Those are the three actions, not having relationships, but having unethical relationships. Those are the three things that you should get rid of when it comes to actions done by using our body. So the second one is the four actions that are using our words. That is lying, slandering, and using harsh words, and gossiping or meaningless words, using meaningless words to us and to others. So these are the other four things that are that should be got ridden of in order to work in the correct pathway. So the last one is what you call the three items that are part that connects with the mind. So that's maliciousness, greediness, and having wrong and distorted views about reality of the world. So these, if you don't have these 10, and if you map your life in such a way that you are not entering these 10 things, and you are trying to move towards nibbana, then you still are able to, because having a relationship, having eating good food, using what do you call nice clothes, wearing nice clothes are not a problem for this pathway. What is problematic is when you become greedy. Now, greediness is a problem. Now, when it is out of control, when you are attached so much, it says that me and me only, like ideas. Me and my people only, like ideas, are the too much. So when you do not go there, you are just in your territory, in the good territory, then you can practice it with your day-to-day activities and vipassana meditation and other religious activities. So until you reach anagami state. After anagami, then the pathway is different. With each step you take in the Arya pathway, it becomes different. So when you don't have to think about what happens when you become anagami, because at the state of anagami, that's what you want at that state. Sure that maybe now you think that you don't want that to happen in the way when you reach there, but that's you thinking in this context of scenarios or events. But when you reach there, you want that to happen because your mind is changed, your ideas are changed, your requirements have changed. Now you won't regret because you know in that area when you reach that state, the what do you call the idea or the idea you will get is with the higher wisdom, you will understand that it is what you need now, and you won't have second thoughts on it. And you will never think that I should go back to original or the previous states, because with wisdom you know that this is the best you can get. So I think I could give a idea on this. Did you get?
Yes, thank you, Thero.
Thero, if I may, can I add something to this discussion, if I may, with your permission?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think an important point that we have to also question and understand is, why are we letting go of things? Because if you look at the world, there are people who will let go of things. They may live a simple life. They may live, for example, van life. They get rid of a lot of things and they live a life, and there is a certain amount of blissfulness in there. But you have to ask yourself, why am I trying to let go of things? Because in that sort of a scenario, you're still trying to find a good place, a nice place, a less problematic place. Still you want to live, still you want to experience, still you want to do things. So you have to understand with what reason am I trying to let go? Have I seen the truth of the world? Dhamma is how the world is, and Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta is the real state of the world. Have I seen that? Have I come to a realization that the world is not a good place to be because it is of this state, and pleasure and joy is an actual false, a mirage? Have you arrived at that state? And once you have arrived at that stage, that is where you entered the path. And from there, it's a gradual letting go. Now, therefore, there is no conflict now with you. Whether are your achievements are getting fulfilled? Are you able to go ahead in your corporate life or other achievements in life? Because your viewpoint of life has completely changed. You may use them, you might work, you might use things, as Thero said, because you need them to keep going, but it is not to achieve a certain status in life or to do things to grow yourself more bigger so that you can stay in this world. So the fundamental question one must have to ask, like Thero said, is why are you doing it? Have you seen it for what it is? And if so, then you start walking in the path. I think that's a critical point that one must question. If not, because it's a fine line between letting go and finding a good place to stay, and letting go because you are gradually starting to go in that direction. Thero, I just wanted to add this in so that that differentiation can be made. Maybe you can build up on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe in next week's session, if we could go through that sort of the reason behind letting go, that would be good. Maybe go a bit more fundamentally.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk about that. I think this opens up a good door for us to explore. So we'll talk about how why we need letting go. So what the easier or the quick answer to this is when we understand what Nibbana is actually, everything becomes second to that. So your first when you really understand what Nibbana is, everything becomes second and Nibbana becomes first. But since you have addictions in life, seeing is addiction, hearing is addiction, tasting, smelling, touching, all 5 senses, we have addicted so much. We cannot let go of that to achieve our first goal, which is Nibbana. So that's what should happen to a person. That's why when the samsaric journey also changes when it comes to a person who has the understanding of Dhamma. When you become an Arya, you are no longer a candidate for the four types of hells, because your perception of this world has changed, or you are now seeing, you are not now you don't have another or priority other than Nibbana, but these addictions are what keeps you going. So that's the letting go part, or the getting rid of attachments comes in order to get rid of these attachments or the addictions. So when these addictions are gone, so it says Priyabhavya Sindhino. That Priyabhavya Sindhino means you have to you have a likeness, fondness to these items, the external world, external items. So that fondness should go away in order for you to see the truth. So when that is being seen, you see your ultimate goal that blooms, or the Nibbana, the distance between you and Nibbana reduces. So so what happens when you understand it fully is the whole point of view changes to something ordinary, or something in the materialistic world, to Nibbana. So when that changes, you still work on your physical world or materialistic world, on your jobs, on your career and everything, but you know that every inch of it, or everything that is done in that area is to facilitate Nibbana, because you need food, because you need comfort, because you need good health, everything. Why do you need these things? Because to attain Nibbana. That's the change, or that's the idea you get when you reach this kind of understanding. So that is called Samma Jiva. So Ajiva means lifestyle. Samma Ajiva means this lifestyle that I am going on, or I am doing. This lifestyle is only because to reach Nibbana. So I have to go on a pathway, or I have to do something to reach there. So in that journey, there are needs, and there are the needs that need to be fulfilled. Otherwise, there will be various kinds of problems, like health issues, like hunger, thirst, and anything can happen. So for these kind of things to be tackled, problems to be tackled. So we need the outside lifestyle, which is also a part of Arya Vattangiko Maggo, or the Eightfold Noble Pathway. So we'll focus on that in the next week's sermon.
So, considering the fact that we are about past 2 hours since we've started, maybe we can conclude for today. But as you very correctly said, I think the questions by the participants has opened up many points that we can bring up to discussion next week. So with that, I would like to give thank Venerable Thero for taking his time to not only give us a sermon, but also to ask our questions. So we give our utmost thanks to you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. With that, we would like to bring this session to a close and meet at 7 p.m. next week as scheduled. Thank you very much, Thero, for your time.
Theruvan Saranaya.
Theruvan Saranaya.